Plastic Man No More, Issue 2, Christopher Cantwell and Jacob Edgar. Or how Plastic Man accidentally killed all the metal men.
Accidentally in quotes, because that wasn't supposed to happen. That's kind of, isn't that E.L. O'Brien's entire thing? Is that wasn't supposed to happen?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely wasn't supposed to happen. He wanted to just magnetize them so he could, steal uranium, right? That's what he wants.
Yes, and he learned that not all metals are magnetic.
Yes. In fact, he learned that most of them aren't, because only one of them actually gets affected by it. Which, to be fair, I didn't know that. I assumed gold would be magnetic. I didn't realize gold wasn't.
No, I don't think it is. Maybe in large enough quantities, but any gold that I've ever had is distinctly not magnetic.
Oh, that's fair. I mean, I don't know if I've ever had gold lying around to test it, but
you've never had a gold necklace or chain or anything like that?
I've never been a jewelry guy, no.
Yeah. Well, my aunt had given me, I was really into the Tasmanian Devil growing up.
Oh, right.
So I had gotten a necklace that she had got me with a Chaz charm, and I wore that very proudly. So, but yes.
No, don't know. I wasn't surprised at some metals, because I don't imagine lead being magnetic, because lead's very different to, whatever. But I for some reason I assume gold would be. I guess it's just because it looks shiny enough. If any sort of shiny metal, I expect to be magnetic. Obviously, that's not true. Luckily, I'm not the one doing engineering or
metallurgy.
Chemistry.
Yeah.
Metallurgy. I'm sure that's the word, but
metallurgy. Yeah.
Obviously, last issue, Plastic Man finds out he's dying, but then ultimately he's worried that it's going to happen to his son, and that's what he's concerned about. So we can root for him. That's cool. He finds out that the one way that might stabilize him and therefore also save his son is to be at the center of a massive nuclear blast. That is his goal this issue. He is trying to steal uranium of the metal men because he wants to use them to create a huge nuclear blast. However, he was already kidnapped by Mr. No-Face, which is actually, honestly, almost every line with Mr. No-Face was actually making me laugh. This book is actually very funny at times. So all very good. All poorly thought out. None of it goes to plan as per usual. I love the more cartoony art you get and simplistic art when he's talking to the Justice League, because it's kind of how they see him as just a cartoon. Is a really nice touch. That works really well.
Which is then offset, like when he sneezes, and it becomes this like grotesque, almost body horror kind of art.
And but the art looks more like the rest of the book for like one page as he sneezes, and you're right, he's extra grotesque, especially. But then you go back to the simple art. But the snot, if you will, is still all over the table, and they're just having a good chuckle about it. So
he's dying and they're laughing. Like, it's hard to be Plastic Man.
Yeah, Bobo says, "Hey, do you need help?" And Plastic Man declines it, but makes it clear that he's still there. There's also a little subplot with Plastic Man's son actually telling the mother, Plastic Man's old wife, that he is dying. News which she kind of rejects listening to be honest. She just kind of goes back to work and can't deal with it. But interesting that we're setting up her reaction to it to see how his family get involved next issue, the last one. But the doctor lady is not really willing to help with a nuclear blast to try and fix him. However, as we kind of predicted in the first issue, there was a tease of her losing a kid that might ultimately be why she sympathizes with him enough to actually go along with it. And sure enough, it is. When Plastic Man talks about this, about saving his kid, and he's not sure if she can relate to that, she does admit, I had a daughter and she was on life support, and we ultimately chose to let her go. But I've always wondered, like, could I have done something more? So it does a good job of like saying, okay, this is why she's going to agree with this crazy plan. And it is worth mentioning, he does point out that he's found a location to set the bomb off that won't hurt anyone. He's got a desolate location in mind. So admittedly, his plans don't always go as scheduled. So it's still open for some problems.
Yes.
But, also his son meets with Tim Drake, who talks to him about stuff, and it cuts away. So for me though, the real star of this book though is the entire sequence where they go to get uranium back from Dr. or Mr. No-Face, who's kidnapped him. And the joke of the issue, other than No Face just hating faces, because when we start this scene, they're playing cards, like him and Uranium are playing cards, and he's like, I hate faces, all faces, faces, they're the worst, right? His hatred of faces, the way that characters in Parks and Rec hate the library, was cracking me up. But then the other thing that's sort of running here is that Uranium is an absolute dickhead, and all the metal men are like, yeah, we'll come and help save him, but like, he's the worst. Like, he's going to be a dick to you. Yeah.
Yeah.
So these two jokes just played off of each other during this whole rescue, because, you know, Plastic Man's got the metal men to come and help him. But he's going to betray them with the magnet once they're done. Like, all of this goes to shit. Basically, they turn on a big magnet. It doesn't quite work because they're like, wait, we don't magnetize. Like, you know, not all metal's magnetic. And he's like, huh? You could have Googled that, you know. It would have taken like 3 seconds to find that out. So he's like, hey, buddy, because he's got his old friend helping him up top who turned on the magnet. He's like, do something else. He's like, what? He's like, I don't know anything. And it doesn't even seem like he does anything. It's just that because he's made a big hole in the roof of this like factory that's got these big furnace type things, you know, the big molten kind of smelters. The big walkway they're all standing on, the cable holding it up just kind of like comes undone and snaps, and all of the metal men fall into it's like the end of Terminator 2. It's basically that, where they all fall into that kind of molten metal.
There's no thumbs up though. There's just
no thumbs up. Plastic Man's got one arm, because keep in mind he's got his second arm in that bag because he's melting. And he uses that one arm to grab Uranium because he needs him, and lets them all fall to their death. And it's this horrific page of their faces kind of been visible in the molten metal, and it's again just kind of like Terminator 2, and they're like, shit, you killed them. And like Plastic Man's friends like, wait, they'll be back. You said they always come back from death, right? They're definitely coming back. They're not dead. No one will get hurt, right? And he kind of repeats, or you sort of hear the flashback of him saying, no one will get hurt, I promise. But the boxes of the words are melting as Plastic Man's face is melting in the intense heat. I love this ending. It felt like super dark for a book that was very funny up until this point. Like that the last panel of like Plastic Man's melting face coated in like the firelight of all this molten metal. Actually, it does look kind of like horror movie-esque and demonic. It looks like a demon or something. It's kind of nuts. What did you think of this book?
No, I liked it. I thought the comedy was really good. I have a soft spot for the Metalmen, and so seeing them on the same pages as Plastic Man, right? Because it's plastic metal, and you know, and they're usually the butt of jokes as well, right? So the fact that Cantwell chose to use them here, you know, like with Plastic Man, and then his carelessness, you know, being their undoing, right? It adds a bit more tragedy to all of this too. You know, so and yeah, just the whole idea that uranium, right? Because uranium is it's such a reactive metal, right? And it's such this element, and that's why they use it in the atomic bombs and whatnot, because it's so unstable. You know, him just looking at Plasma and going like, you killed them all. You know, it adds that little bit extra to it all too. So yeah, you know, I did enjoy it.
Yeah, and obviously when they first get Uranium back, the first thing he does is like basically say how much he doesn't like them, which again just tying into how much of a dick he is. So yeah, I mean, I had a good time with this. It was constantly making me chuckle or giving me something funny, but it does have that tragic side to it, which really comes out in the ending. And the art's pretty good throughout, actually, but the stuff with the T2 stuff at the end is especially inspired looking. It's very good. I like the joke where before the betrayal, when they're all just sort of dealing with Mr. No Face, and Mr. No Face has a flamethrower, and he's threatening. He's like, "Hey, gold doesn't have, you know, the melting point of gold's actually pretty low. I'm going to melt you." And then like one of the other metal men jumps in and says, "Yeah, but my melting point's much lower than his. Why weren't you threatening me with that?"
Yeah.
I got a chuckle out of that.
I also love when he just calls Uranium a dickhead. Right? Because I kidnapped you so I could turn you to 400 pounds of pure U-235, dickhead. Because he's like, I didn't kidnap you to get therapy. Man, I just thought, yeah, Just the timing for some of this stuff too. Like,
Yeah, I don't know, Mr. No Face, I can't say I know this character, but he was making me laugh almost instantly. Just the idea that he's playing poker and he's audibly just going, "Oh, I hate faces. I hate face cards. There's faces on them."
And just the fact he has no face. So, like, you know, poker's a game where you read your opponent, right? And he's giving everything away.
Yeah, that's funny.
Right?
That's funny. Yeah. So good stuff. Yeah, I enjoyed the first issue of this. I like that it's given as a sympathetic character in Plastic Man. He's got a good reason for doing what he's doing, even though he's causing a bit of a path of destruction in his wake to try and like save his son from a potential, you know, future melting like him. So yeah, no, a good time. Quite enjoying it. What are you rating Plastic Man No More?
I'm gonna give this a solid 8.
Yeah, I'm going to be boring and just say yeah, but I mean, we're syncing up. I'm going to say